Are you going to family court against a narcissist or with your narcissistic ex? If you are up against a narcissist in family court, prepare. Do get a good attorney. This is formally called Get the Right Lawyer Guide. It is now called Get a Good Attorney Guide. Welcome to my work. I'm a survivor of a 12-year family court battle with tons of post-separation abuse, legal abuse, and lies with my narcissistic ex over only child. I went on to win some protections and child support in family court, and then went on to lose my legal rights in family court due to family court corruption, the narcissistic lawyer, all kinds of tactics. So I tell my story in an open, honest way, sharing all this with you in a pen name so that you can learn from my mistakes, avoid them. If you're going to family court, I recommend that you do some legal consultations and talk with family law lawyers about your case. But before you do all that, calling around frantically, prepare. Take some time to read this guide, the questions in the worksheet, the understanding of what's at stake, what's important, why it's important. When you ground yourself in this wisdom, you can come across as a more solid, sane, stable mom. And you do want to feel that way and appear that way to your own attorney, not just the judge in the courts. So if you're fighting for perfection in family court, I share a lot of my survivor wisdom. That's not something you can get in a flawed system. And I don't know that it will ever be perfect, even though we're working for family court reform. I am someone who used family court during one phase and then got out of family court in another phase. So I'm here to educate, encourage, and empower the safe, loving, protective mom. Learn all you can. My background is loving and leaving an alcoholic. Knowledge is power. I have 7 books for moms. I wrote as I went through the experience. If I met an expert, if I found a tool that was helpful, I wrote it down because it was a very lonely, scary road going up against my ex. At the time, I didn't know he was a narcissist, and it was enlightening, informative, and upsetting at times. It was a lot to take in, and I wrote my way through this journey so you can learn, heal, and grow through it. You don't have to just go through it. You can come out smarter and stronger than before. All my books have my tips, tools, and strategies. And my newest is We Survived a Narcissist. Believe you can too. And I want you to hold on to hope where there's hope to hold on to. So if you're holding on to hope that you'll find the perfect lawyer, that's not the hope to hold on to. We have to use wisdom in this situation and accept reality. So pick up any of my books. I'm going to put this new Get a Good Attorney Guide once it's finalized with my editors in my newest book, We Thrived. So if you want to grab onto this and one of my books full of that wisdom, you can pick up my newest one. So I do have a How to Fight a Narcissist in Family Court and Win book, but be careful of that win word because typically the only ones who win are the attorneys who get an hourly wage and bill that hourly amount. Getting legal representation is empowering, and often our custody case is only as good as our attorney and only as good as our documentation strategy, our 20 wants list. If we sat down and we wrote that, there's so much you can do before calling an attorney. And there's so much you can do learning what you need to ask that attorney. And that's what my guide does is what are the things you can do to should be asking an attorney if you're taking up their time. You want to know their strategy. You want to know what things you should be documenting. There's things you want to be asking an attorney. And I do have a previous video, how to prepare for getting an attorney. And that is what I talk about with the 20 wants list. That is another strategy that I used. I stayed with that list. I focused on that list and I framed it and positioned it in a way that it wasn't something coming from me. You have to really learn the angle to take with a narcissist in family court. I used skillful means. I stopped being the target of blame. I stopped being the narcissist's opponent. I tamed the whole situation, neutralized all the conflict and the war, and ended up not needing to use lawyers in all our situations. So get strategic. Yeah, I have all my blogs on my website. I have my books on Amazon. You can keep being a great mom, learn from my podcast. You can listen in on my Spotify and see if my message resonates you. So my goal is peace and protection for mothers and children. It's not to win, beat, defeat, destroy a narcissist or expose them in family court. I'm looking at, is the healthy parent got the majority of the parenting time? If the narcissist, if they're abusive and toxic and doing child abuse and neglect, can't be removed as the other parent through the family courts or given supervised visitation, if that's not an option and you have to learn to coexist with this other parent, there needs to be a mindset shift and some adjustment. And you don't want to have that adjustment disorder to reality and suffer over all the suffering. So there are mindsets to adopt and things that you can really take on that'll help you cope and endure. So if you need to get a lawyer, this is my Get the Right Lawyer Guide, now called Get a Good Attorney Guide. Not a perfect attorney, a good attorney. And the difference between attorney and lawyer, one went to law school, they're a lawyer, and the other one, attorney, is practicing and licensed in your state. So they're used interchangeably nowadays, but I'm changing out the name just to make it a little more accurate. I used 3 attorneys and for different phases of my case, and now I use no attorneys, but if you can't afford an attorney, you still want to read the guide and understand why you would want an attorney, what you could be asking for in free consultations from attorneys. There's strategies around that, but throwing out the idea of getting an attorney when you're up against a narcissist and not even interviewing, consulting, or thinking about how they could help your case, you might be closed-minded because you don't think you have a big retainer. However, you can maximize those legal consultations with all those questions and maybe get some framework for what kind of angle you would want to take, or maybe get an idea what attorney you would need if you're forced to go to a trial and it's not just appearances and pretrial hearings. So this is my shared survivor wisdom, not direct advice. I say the only advice I give is to get solid legal advice. And I always recommend that you get support. So your lawyer can't be your therapist, and you wouldn't want to call and interview attorneys with all the drama and the pain. You would want to be strategically asking them legal court custody questions. And you can always look up your own state guidelines and be more educated on the topic and not just put all the power in the attorney's hands. And I caution moms to watch out for the lawyers that say everything you want to hear and they promise they're going to win or he won't get any whatever time for whatever reason. Many of us moms learn it's not a straight path to a judge. Our evidence can get dismissed. So many things can go wrong in family court that we aren't expecting. So you can expect the unexpected when it comes to family court and going up against a liar who will lie and a person who looks really good to others. And that would be the narcissist with their great manipulation skills and image management. So here is my Get a Good Attorney Guide down in the link below. I really highly recommend reading through it all the way before you go and interview attorneys. That way you feel more grounded, got a sense of what you need to be asking. You can print it, highlight what you want to ask, cross out what you don't want to ask. It's all up to your discretion. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll see you in the next video. Check out my YouTube channel, tons of free videos.